The Old Goal Club, powered by Wolverhampton Building Supplies, with Mikey Burrows and Chris Iwelumo.
Welcome along to the Old Goal Club. I'm Mikey Burrows, alongside me, as ever, Chris Iwelumo. And our guest this week spent 14 years at Molineux, making 487 appearances, putting him 9th on the all-time list. He also scored 194 goals, 2nd on the all-time goal-scoring list. Welcome to the club, the King,
Thanks,
John
Mikey.
Richards.
I probably only 193. I did claim one that actually went off a defender, so I own up now. So yeah,
We are privileged to have royalty.
it's very kind of you.
building.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Although I am local, so it's not really as if I go a long way away anyway. But it's always nice to come back to Molineux and have my usual chat with Graham in reception. And
Graham Hughes.
Yeah, Graham Hughes, as probably all the Wolves fans will know anyway. So it's always nice to catch up with Graham.
It's fascinating to kind of have you in, and there's loads that we're going to talk about. I do want to mention the King thing, King John.
I don't know how that arose, really. I think it was probably one of the newspapers, whether it was the Express and Star in those days, and Phil Morgan, who was the reporter, or whether it was just something that came from the fans.
Were you aware of it at the time?
Not really. It just happened, you know. And you never went round and saw people say, oh, King John. I don't know how it came about, to be perfectly honest. In fact, I might have to do a little bit of investigation myself to find out when it actually started. I think it was just they look for handles to fit to players, don't they? You know, and obviously John, there's a King John. So
Is it weird though? Because I put this to Looms earlier. I was like, did fans have names for you? And he was like, absolutely, yeah. And then he thought I meant rude names.
oh yeah.
I thought getting a little bit of stick from the fans. Nothing like King John, which I've got to say is a fantastic handle.
It's quite grand, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So you just think, no, not really.
Majestic.
I don't make the children call me that or something like that. just the grandsons, especially the 10-year-old. He's a bit cocky, Oscar. So I just remind him every now and again because he thinks he's better than me, but he probably will be soon.
Looms, you did have a name.
I was trying to remember. I think because I had the locks, didn't I? I got called Predator. I don't know if it was about the face. I don't know if that was similar as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But Predator for a striker is quite good.
It's a good name.
Didn't mind it at all.
Yeah.
But it's not quite King.
It's definitely not King. I would have liked King. I would have enjoyed that.
Because when we put on social media that you were coming on, so many responses that we'll get to in a little while, but a lot of them are just the King. Yeah,
it's lovely. It's a nice privilege, and it's nice that people still remember me like that. And it's I don't find it embarrassing because I don't see it as a sort of anything other than I was part of a good team at the time. You had Dougan and Wagstaff and Mike Bailey and Kenny Hibbett, and it was just sort of I was one of that successful team, and they just King John because I don't think you could call you can't have a King Chris anyway.
Just joking.
There's no. I don't think in history we've had a King Christopher. So it just doesn't work unless you change your name to something like James or something like. You could be a King James.
There's an element of modesty there, isn't there? Did you notice when he just dropped in like, we had a good team. They had a very good team.
I tell you, it's one of those. I think you can undersell yourself. You scored goals, important goals. It's the hardest thing to do in football, John.
Yeah.
And it's like you say. Yeah, it's everyone is as good as the team around them.
That's right. Yeah.
But there's pressure. There's expectation on you to deliver, and you did.
I did at times. There were times when I didn't, and there was times I was dropped from the team. Bill McGarry early on, so it was in that early 70s. And I was just going through a bad spell, and then I was dropped, and then I was actually made substitute for an FA Cup game down here, and Waggy got injured in about the first 10-15 minutes, and I went on and scored a hat-trick, and we won, and then I was back. So it was one of those things, and all players go through it. Chris, you've done it yourself. You have a good, really good spells, and things just happen. And then there's other ones when you can't. You're still working as hard. You're still doing what you think you're supposed to be doing to get into the positions, but it just doesn't happen. But we were fortunate because we had players who were regular scorers. Other than myself, we had 4 or 5 players who were regularly getting into double figures in the first division. Now that takes some doing. So it wasn't all on me to score the goals, so I didn't feel any pressure from that point of view.
You got brought into the club February. Obviously made your debut for the club February.
West Bromwich Albion.
Against Albion 3-3. The first goal came in September.
Yes.
So in that period, was there a frustration? That first goal, it's always the hardest one to get, they say.
Yeah, well, I didn't expect to play that early because I'd only joined the club in July, and I was 18 years old and then 19 in November. And it was a case of I'd done well in the reserves. And in those days, if your first team striker got injured or your first team right back, your reserve team right back came in or your reserve team centre forward. Yeah. And I was then sort of consolidating his position as the reserve team striker, and Dougan got injured, so I was then during the week I was told on the Friday that you're going to make your debut tomorrow at West Bromwich Albion, and you think, I didn't know what to expect anyway, because I'd come from Warrington. West Brom to me was, I didn't even know where it was. That it was a local derby, it just didn't have any significance from my point of view. So whilst a lot of people say, fancy playing at the Hawthorns in front of 50,000, they must have hated you. They must have. But I think John Kay, he kicked me in the first 5 or 10 minutes. I thought, oh, this is hard. So I just kept running. And I thought, well, if I kept running, he's not going to catch me. And so it was. So that's how I made got into the team. But I only played 4 games then, Chris. I was, because Dougan was injured, and obviously he's the first team. So, he's the first selection. So he then got fit. I went back into the reserves, and I didn't have the opportunity again to play during that season.
Well, on that then, those 4 games, what did you take from that? As I say, going back into the reserves, you must have then, that confidence. You knew what it was all about. You knew it was hard, but you knew what it took as well, and you got in there.
Yeah, it was slightly different to the reserves. The reserve was tough as a young lad, because you're playing against experienced players, young players, usually experienced players coming back from injury and trying to get back into the team. So it was a good grounding. I had virtually a full season in the reserves, and that was good. Those matches themselves, I was disappointed. I just felt I hadn't done enough. Not that I let myself down. I just felt that I could have done better, to sort of try and keep my place. Mm-hmm. So whilst I didn't then have the opportunity till later on, actually the start of the next season, it was a case of, well, you got a taste of it. You just want a bit more, and then the pre-season is always important. Or it used to be in those days in Wolves. It was always hard, and I was quite fortunate. I was a natural. I could run. I was good. I was quite quick, and so you push yourself into that position. So suddenly, I think Wolves had bought Bobby Gold as well. So we'd got Dougan, Hughie Curran at the time, Bobby Gold, and they were in front of me. But I was scoring goals in the reserves quite regularly. So I then got that opportunity, and I think, as you said, I got my first goal against. Was it Huddersfield? I think it was. Yeah. Left footer of all things. Never. And I can vividly, corner from here, Jim McCalliog, far side, left footer, back across the goalkeeper, and that was it. And then I think it was in the November. I think I played against Derby, and it was, and that was when they got Roy McFarlane, Colin Todd, good team, great, and it was a great match here, and we won 2-1, and I scored both goals, and that was then me in as the first team striker. And I think quite quick really, from leaving school probably 15 months 16 months previously, that you're suddenly playing regular first team football at Wolves, which was one of the biggest names in the country.
Because actually that's a good point to bring this up. Kind of why Wolves? Because it wasn't like you were a local lad.
No, not at all. It was a case of nobody had approached me till I was 18. I was playing for Lancashire Grammar School boys team. We then had a tournament down at Bognor Regis. We stopped in the holiday camp there, where all the county teams met in the Easter of 1968. And I was playing for the Lancashire, and then got picked for England Grammar School boys team. And we played against there was somebody with the Staffordshire county team, Tony Penman, and he came to me and he just said, "Oh, you know, I'm a scout for Wolves. You know, are you connected with any team?" I said, "No." He said, "Would you like to come down for a trial?" And then after I said, "Yeah," but then 2 or 3 other clubs came in: Sheffield Wednesday, Derby County, but because Wolves had been the first, I honoured the agreement to come and have a trial match here. And funnily enough, I was just been talking to Graham about it, because we're talking about somebody called Dougie Woodfield, who goes back to the 60s. Dougie Woodfield played in the match. My trial match really was the last game of the 1968-69 season here at Molineux against Derby County. Played up front with Jimmy Seal. We won 4-1. Jimmy's got 3 and Dougie Woodfield got the other. And then I was in the dressing room after the match, and this old elderly I say, he's probably up 20 years younger than I am now, but it was an elderly gentleman came up to me. He says, "Well done, son." He said, "You played really well. How would you like to sign for Wolves?" I said, "Yeah, I would. And that's very kind of you." He said, "Well, I'll sort it out for you." And he went out, and I said to Jimmy Seal, because we'd changed your mind, I said, "Who was that?" He says, "That was the chairman, John Ireland." And he sorted it out, and I signed a year's contract with Wolves. So that's why I came to Wolves. It was just the fact that they happened to be the first club to approach me at the particular time. It was a long way from Warrington in those days to Wolves. My mum thought, because I was the eldest of 5 boys, she thought, losing an eldest son, going all that way.
Because I say, when we had Kenny Hibbett in, he said that when he very nearly got off the train, pretty much at every stop on his way down from Yorkshire, nervous about coming to what was a grand football club at the time.
It's like the bright lights Wolverhampton was compared to Warrington. You know, it's all big city and nightclubs and things like that to distract you. Actually, I remember, because we were in digs with Barry Powell. Barry, who was played at Coventry, played at Wolves for a while, you know, in the League Cup as well. And I can remember we used to come here on the bus from Bradmore by Bantock Park, and I only ever had one ambition. I can remember getting off the bus and walking down and thinking, oh, those people look at me and think, oh, he must be with Wolves, he's a professional footballer. I just wanted to play on that pitch once, and I would have been happy with that, you know, because I was only signed for a year anyway, and that was my initial ambition, to play on that pitch once, and I'd have gone away. I've been really happy.
You know, obviously, when you come down and you say that you honour the trial.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on Wolves as you're coming? Like, what was your viewpoint on Wolves then before you came down for the trial?
I remember seeing on Match of the Day, or whatever it was called in those days, a match where this gangly centre forward called Dougan scored a goal against Hull City, and it flicked it up from behind him and then volleyed it in, and it was magical in front of the Molineux heroes, that he went berserk. And I remember that as I was coming to it, because I was picked up by Joe Gardner and brought to, and then years later when you get to know Dougan, you think, how the bloody hell did he do that? He hasn't got the skill to do that. It must have been so lucky. It must have bounced off his ankle, up in the air, and he's going, Eric, knock it in. But that's what I remembered from it, because I'd seen him on the television not long previously, Chris, and I'm thinking, God, they're a big club. Plus, obviously, when I was 10, 11 and playing football in the playground, Wolves had won the FA Cup in 1960, so it sticks in your mind. Yeah. And my best pal at the time, his dad was a Wolves supporter, even in Warrington, so we knew about Wolves.
Because 71, 72, your kind of real breakthrough year to prominence.
Yes,
amongst the team, the run to the UEFA Cup final.
Correct.
It's you and the Doug.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're together.
Yeah. And people talk about that and they think, we weren't together for that long. We were probably there together for 2.5 seasons. But because of the number of goals that we scored, we were scoring between 50 and 60 between us in those three seasons. And it just clicked. It was one of those things. So that's why people dwell on that. But you say, well, I think I played with Andrew Gray longer than I did with Derek Dougan. But it just so happened that it was a successful period. We were scoring goals left, right and centre. If he wasn't scoring, I was scoring. Kenny Hibbert was scoring, people like that. So it was a time when we were playing 60 matches a season in 72. And again in 73, because we lost in the FA Cup semi-final and the League Cup semi-final in 73. And, it was in the days when your squad was 14, 15, 16 players. You played the same team every week or midweek if those players were fit. So, you talk about the number of games that we played, and a lot of players played a lot of games from that generation. It's because we were playing 50, 60 games a season.
Yeah, but he scored 36 goals in that season, 72, 73. 36 goals.
This I've got to say, consistently hitting the back of the net. The performances itself, you weren't just a goal scorer, all round player as well. You get obviously the acknowledgement for your country.
That's right.
One capture. One capture. I'm trying to because the way you were, the football you were playing, scoring goals.
Yeah.
That's that international quality. Why only one cap?
I don't think I did myself any justice when I played. I played against Northern Ireland at Goodison, because we weren't allowed to play in Belfast because of the Troubles. So it was a home international. It was their home game, but he played at Goodison, and I came in because Alan Clark got injured. I was in the squad to go on a tour, which included the World Cup game against Poland. At that time, it was 1973, and so I was just brought in during the week, quite sort of suddenly, because Alan got injured, and I played up front with Chivers and Mickey Shannon on the right, and I ended up playing on the left, which a lot of fans say, he played as a left winger. Now, Sir Alf wanted me to play wide on the left, and you try and play as he asks you to play. He's the manager. You don't sort of just do your own thing. I was 22 years old. You don't sort of say, well, sod that, I'm going to go up front and interfere with Martin Chivers, get him out of the way so I can score. So, and I don't think I did myself justice playing in that position. But then, because of Alan then got fit, that was the front three basically. So I didn't really get a chance on that tour. But when I look back, I was disappointed in myself for not taking, having a bit more courage and saying, taking the ball by the horns and going, doing a bit more. But I also look back and think, well, at the time there was myself, there was Kevin Keegan, Malcolm MacDonald, Frank Worthington. There were probably about 9 or 10 English strikers who were actually trying to get into the England squad. So it was difficult anyway. I think we were fortunate as a country that we'd got a lot of top strikers at the time, which limited my sort of opportunities. So you mentioned about regrets. Probably that is a slight disappointment I have in myself in not sort of taking a bit more of the initiative in that match. Yeah. But at the time, you're new to the squad, you're young, you think you're going to get another opportunity. Yeah. But it never happened.
Because that's the thing. If it was in this day and age, and the consistency that you showed, because you were top scorer for like 6 years in a row. I think I worked it out. You were top scorer for 8 of your 14 seasons that you had at the football club.
Yeah.
In this day and age, probably the one I could liken it to is like a Jamie Vardy type scenario, where the media would be saying, You have to be in the squad. How can you not be getting England caps when you've got that level of consistency? Because when we look at goals, we were talking about it before you came in, that the only person above you in the Wolves scoring charts is Bully.
Yeah.
And Bully got 306 goals, and taking nothing away from Bully, but a lot of his goals were at a lower level. Yours consistently at the very top level of English football.
Yeah, but as I was saying, there's loads of other strikers. Most clubs in that generation had a mix of. You looked at them and it was usually the same. They all played the same. Two strikers up front, one playing off a bigger bloke, and we'd probably got about 7, 8, 9 of those strikers who were English. There was a lot of competition, and I wasn't disappointed. I was pleased. I'd got other caps as well, under 23s and then B internationals, but I got one. So am I content with it? Probably not quite.
John, there's a lot of, I guess, players around the world at the top level that like you say, they're known for scoring their goals, but they don't score goals against, like you say, the rivals or the big games. You were a big game player as well. You delivered on those occasions.
We used to thrive on them. We used to love them.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm talking about you. I'm not saying name. You delivered. You scored the goals, and I know you're very modest, but yeah.
But I get the benefit now. Which is what we were talking about. Why do people talk about? When you go into anywhere, they'll come and talk to you about Wolves. They'll come and talk to you about your playing days. And it's wonderful. It really is a privilege for people to come and talk to you. And I know what you're saying. And they say, well, how do you score the goals? Anyway. Most strikers are natural. You can either score or you can't score. You can't explain in a lot of cases how you've scored a goal, because you naturally move into that position or whatever, or instinct. You just sense where the ball's going to drop or where the ball's going to be delivered. You just know, and you can't teach people how to do that, how to naturally score goals. I believe you either can or you can't. It's like these. You watch your Hazards and people like that now. They're just natural. You can't pick a kid up at 7, 8, and 9 and train them to be a Hazard. It doesn't happen. They're either naturally gifted and they've got that skill in them, and I think that's what I had. I was like Bully, natural goal scorer. You can't teach. You can't teach somebody else to be a bully, because you just can't do it.
Well, you mentioned Bully. One of the things I wanted to ask you about this, because you broke Billy Hartle's Wolves goal scoring record. Billy played from 1928 to 1935, so it had been quite a while before you came on the scene and broke that record. You set a total of 194 or 193, if you want to claim one that didn't quite go in off you.
Yeah.
That was a big number. You're probably thinking, the last previous record lasted for a long time, many decades. And then all of a sudden along comes Steve Bull and goes, whoa, miles past.
Yeah, flew past, didn't he? He deserved it. Bully again, he made a big difference to the club. The club was going through a bad time. It was down in the 4th division. Suddenly you get someone who gives it a bit of life again. And as I said to you, it's what fans love more than anything. They like their heroes. They like, they don't replace them, as I said, one with another. They like a new one. And Bully was the new hero. And he delivered. You all credit to him. The fact that he's, is overtaking my goal scoring record is neither here nor there. Because that record that I scored, as we're proving now, isn't forgotten. My achievements aren't diminished by Bully's achievements. Far from it. It's actually, the older I get, the people forget the bad games I had. And I think that's fantastic, because I've never had a bad game now. You speak to the fans, all they talk about, I remember that goal against Liverpool, I can remember that goal against that. They don't say, how did you miss that one against, missed that penalty at Ipswich, I think it was. But it's, the bully thing is, you're now saying, will anyone ever beat bullies? They might.
I don't think anyone's ever going to get close to yours, to be honest.
No, because I think the generation of footballers now, they don't tend not to stay at a club as long. And I think that's the way going forward, and fans have to accept that. I think the game accepts that now.
John, you said that all strikers go through dry spells. You were very prolific, like you say, eight years out of the 14 you were top. When you went through those spells, what is it you did? Did you just know that it would just come again? Because you're staying longer on the training pitch. You're doing extra this, extra that. What is it you did when those dry if those dry spells ever came? To be fair,
no, they did, and I think I was left out of the team, and that was when I was in the earlier days. It wasn't it was when in the McGarry's, so it wasn't when I was older and was getting a bit slower or after injuries. This was when I was at peak fitness, and I was probably about 23, 24, and I don't know, it just didn't happen on the pitch. And I think all I did was just keep carrying on with the same routine, with the training. Sammy Chung used to take 4 or 5 of us, religiously every Tuesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon. We'd go back, we'd go across the road to the West Park. All we would do, there'd be Kenny, one of the other midfielders, and they'd just hit balls up to me to control and turn. So that's what we practiced for about an hour on a Tuesday and Thursday. Control, turn, as you're receiving the ball, and shooting. So we just practiced, and then eventually it clicked.
Yeah.
You just need a lucky sort of opportunity. And mine was when I had that spell where I was out. I got injured. No, I didn't get injured. It was the FA Cup game here at Molineux. I was on the bench, and fans were surprised that I'd been dropped, but I wasn't surprised because I hadn't been scoring. Waggy got injured. I came on, and I can remember the first goal. It was down at the North Bank end, and the defender went to clear it, and I just put my foot out and blocked it, and it just dropped. So I'd done a tackle, it dropped, and I side-footed it, and it went into the far corner, and that was it. And then scored another 2 goals, and then from then on, it was. You can't sometimes, Chris, as you know, there's no rhyme or reason. You can't explain to people why your fortunes suddenly change, and it's and it goes back to the thing that I was saying. It will come back because with a lot of the players, it's a natural thing, and all they need is a little bit of the ball to run for them, and you're back to how it used to be.
We are going to go through what we call the rundown and on the podcast, and also talk about the second coming of King John, the director. John
Right,
Richards,
okay.
on the podcast.
Coming, yeah.
I just want to finish on our Facebook show. Obviously, you are synonymous with scoring the winning goal in the League Cup final.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, you were also part of the 80 team.
Yeah.
Which was your favourite? Can you choose?
Yes.
Okay. Straight in. Which one?
The 74 team. I thought that early 70 team was probably the best team I played in. Didn't achieve as much as it should have done. I thought it was a team, especially 71, 72, 73, where we should have won more. I know we got to the UEFA Cup final, but we lost in 2 semi-finals in 73. And we should have been, we were contending for the league, but I felt that team should have won the league or had the potential to win the league and to win more than they did. Because you look at some of the results that we had and the teams that were winning the league at the time, your Liverpool, your Leeds, we were beating them. But we didn't have the consistency during the season to put us in with the chance of winning the first division. But we had the players. There's no doubt about it. The 80s team was what I considered to be a blend of things worked out well for us. Sometimes we got a nice blend of younger players, but a lot of experienced players, and it was a limited team with regards to how it was going to go forward. You know, you got older players like myself, Kenny, Emlyn Hughes, along with younger players like George Berry, Mel Eves. You know, it was a team that was of that time, and everything went well with us. And, you know, we had a little bit of fortune in the final as well with Peter Shilton and David Needham clashing, which meant that the ball just rolled towards the goal. And, yeah, that's the quickest I've seen Andy move. You know, he only just got to it before it went over the line. It would have been an own goal. So he claimed it. So, typical Andy. But, yeah, so that's my assessment of the two teams. Yeah. But a good team, nonetheless, the 80s team.
Okay. There is loads more we're going to talk about and say on our podcast extra, which is available to download from all the usual places. We are going to talk about John as managing director and go through the rundown as well. We're going to find out just a few little things like who's the best player you played with, the worst trainer and whatnot as well. I think it could be quite interesting as well. So make sure you download our podcast and thank you very much for watching King John Richards.
The Old Gold Club, powered by Wolverhampton Building Supplies, with Mikey Burrows and Chris Iwelumo.